This is the Storm and Marvel's Thunderbird 2-pack. That was a really fun 2-pack. People have been wanting the Storm especially for a very long time. And they did pretty good. I offer Hasbro a lot of excuses and things on their female figures, but they did Storm really well on this one. I think that they know that she's a fan favorite, so they couldn't really phone it in on this. In the box, they look really good. There's Thunderbird looking swaggy. We'll say that still. There you get him on the side art, back, and the side again. Interestingly, it doesn't seem like they said anything about the figures on these at all. They don't say anything about the characters, no bios, no really anything besides just their names and their pictures. Let's break them out. Okay, and here they are, both of them outside the box. I have already gone ahead and switched Storm's other head. This is the one that she comes on with the box, which is more of like a battle head, and she also comes wearing this cape, which is more of a flying cape. It's pretty cool. The capes are fully plastic, which is not so cool. I don't really get why they couldn't have just made these fabric, so I'll definitely have my eyes open for handmade fabric replacements for the Storm, either one of these Storm capes. They're both plastic. The heads are pretty well made. I think that these are some of the better heads they've made. You can see they definitely captured that original Storm giant size X-Men look that she has. They have the crown here, the white eyes, the mouth, the skin color is absolutely perfect. Even a little bit of makeup on her there to make her look more fierce. Right now I have her leaning up against this background because I can't seem to get her to stand. This is my ongoing complaint of female figures. One of the biggest things that has yet to be addressed are their feet. Let's just compare really quickly the foot sizes here. I had a bit of a trouble getting Thunderbird to stand up as it is because he is a pretty heavy figure. And there he's actually, I finally got his feet into a good position. And they do have the extra calf joint that I sometimes think makes it a little hard to get them to stand. Sometimes easier, but in his case harder because he has the little boot things, whatever you want to call those. But the Storm, her feet are clearly way too small. All female figures' feet are clearly way too small. That's probably 80% of their standing issues comes from, frankly, shitty feet joint and molds. Other than that, this is a really great Storm figure, and I guess the cape would be the other major drawback in my opinion. The capes are absolute garbage. But they did some really cool things with Storm. First of all, they did something they hardly ever do with female figures, and they sculpted in her suit. You can actually see the, whatever you want to call this, little gold ring holding the top and the bottom parts together is sculpted in there, as is the actual suit itself, and the boots with their little fun artsy bits there, whatever you want to call that, decorative bits. And her top bit, you can see, possibly, there's a little bit, if you see the lighting, there's a little bit of fabric stretching. So there's actually a good amount of sculpting, and there's also some fabric stretching under here. Her cuffs are sculpted on as well, actually. So they did a really good job of actually putting in the effort. It's one of my major critiques with Marvel Legends female figures is that they don't do nearly enough sculpting, so they've definitely turned back on that. Another new thing for the Storm figure that was actually originally getting a lot of critiques, and I think people have kind of come around to it, is this elbow. Another major critique of the female figures is that for some reason they never got double jointed elbows. Hasbro, I guess, instead of just giving them double jointed elbows, has found a solution by remaking the wheel and giving them a completely new type of elbow that allows further, as you can see that, just further than 90 degrees bend. And therefore, she should be able to, well, with her cape it's a little difficult. She should be able to touch her head. You can see that she would be able to if the cape wasn't on. Cape gets kind of in the way. And her hands are a lot of fun. This is none of the other Storm figures have had anything like this. What I'm going to call this is Palpatine fingers. There's a little bit of a messy cutting around the fingers themselves. You can see there's a lot of extra plastic, and I imagine that's because they had some difficulty making these pieces all come out without breaking off in any way. So they probably just left that little bit of extra there to keep from accidentally fucking it up anymore. And you got the same thing on the other side. She did look a little odd in the box. They had her arm at a very strange angle. It was something odd like that, and so it looked not great in the box. When you take it out, it looks a lot better. And if you have her, she does have, oh wow, now I'm trying to figure out which way is even up here. There we go. She does have spare hands. She comes with fists and open hands, but I'm not going to replace those right now in this video because I've already had a little trouble with her head. As you can probably see, let's get him out of the way. These both are fairly long hair, standard for female figures more or less. This one more than this one. This active, let's say, battle head is very, very heavy. I had a really hard time getting it off the peg, and then equally, actually probably more hard time getting this head onto the peg. It could be potentially just this particular figure, but the ball joint does seem really wobbly. This one isn't so bad. I got this one on and it's really sturdy, but having the other one on, it was a little bit wobbly, and I'm going to go ahead and try and switch those back now and see if I can get her showing with the other cape on, and see she's actually, her cape is leaning on the edge of this right now. That's why she's standing. See if I can get her to have that other look. One moment. So this is what Storm looks like without either of the capes on. I haven't put a head on her yet either. And you can kind of see that they gave it kind of a tank top look up here. They still did the sculpting at the top, and not so much at the back. A little bit at the back, not so much. And then you can see the back. From the back, this pretty much just looks like a half tee and underwear kind of look with some nice tall boots. You can see the body mold probably a lot better without that cape on. I'm not sure what's going on with the body sculpts here. I don't recall female figures having quite so much gap here between the chest and the, I don't know what you call that, torso, I guess. There's a bit of, it's a lot of gap, and if you bend her over so you don't see the gap, well, you can still kind of see that hole there, and now she's bending forward. So when she's standing up straight, it's just a little bit obvious, and from the back it looks not so great at all, in my opinion. You can see here, standing up straight, you can see directly in there's that hole through the back. Sorry, Storm, I'm showing off your butt. Which actually, when we're looking at her butt, you can see she does have those nice little fabric marks, stretch marks across the fabric. So they did put a good deal of effort in here. If I was to say there are a few places they could have put more effort in would be the boots. I think that to make them more comic accurate, they'd be a little different than this, but I won't get into that. But they're pretty fun, they're shiny, you know, it's fun stuff. It's the look, it's the outfit, how accurate it is, how much better it could be, I guess isn't really worth discussing. It's the correct outfit, and that's really what people have been waiting for all this time. Kind of see what happens when I try and put this other head on. Either head really does it. See if you can see in here, when I put the head on, the joint moves. So when I put any pressure on here, the joint wants to move what direction it's at, instead of just staying here, because it's a little bit wobbly. So it takes a little bit of effort to get these heads on, and I'm probably not going to do much more switching back and forth with the heads after I do this. It's unfortunate, so you have to take the heads off to switch the capes, because I do want to get a real fabric capes to replace this monstrosity. But be very careful. I would definitely, that's why I haven't taken any of the hands off. I'm very nervous about the joints on this one, especially in the arms and the upper body where we have things that are new. I can already tell I'm having a lot of trouble again getting her to stand like this. It's those tiny little feet. I'm not sure how they thought tiny little feet with really bad joints. You can see they're not even moving. It's the knee that's moving. I don't know. It's all this hair and all this cape. I'm not really sure how they thought that would work out. If you figure out a good pose, I'm sure there's going to be like a striding pose or something that I'll figure out. I can get her in with some leg bends and things, and hopefully that will balance that out. For now, I want to go over Thunderbird. Just leave her in her war look. Oh, that's the head problem I was talking about, if you want to see that. This head is so heavy, the little tiny bit of wobble the neck joint has doesn't quite allow it to get held up. This is clearly the natural stance the hair is supposed to be at. It falls here naturally. Kind of doing this would, in my opinion, be the better option, because then you get her face more looking down than up, Storm flies, so it makes sense that she's looking more down. Well, I'll see what I can do about getting her head to stay at the right angle with this floppy head joint. Floppy neck joint. I don't know why they haven't given female figures the ball and peg neck joint. That's different than this one. It's more of a swivel. If you've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and check out Thunderbird. Oh my god, she's not even going to lean. She's going to lean and look that direction. Checking the door. Here's Thunderbird. He's a cool dude. I'm not going to lie and say there's a ton to say about him because he's a generic male figure. He's got the little arm cuffs and the foot cuffs. They make it a little hard to place him standing because they want to be where your fingers are when you're trying to adjust his ankles and things. He's got a pretty accurate costume as far as I can tell. Little wrist cufflets like Shang-Chi. There's a nice little belt. There doesn't seem to be too much costume detailing, you know, like how Storm has. Not too much. Oh, there she goes. Not too much fabric or anything like that. What's interesting, I'm not sure what that is on his chest. They gave him a really weird chest imprint there. I'm not sure if that's something that, I don't know what that would be. It's just like a weird chest bone they gave him. And then his fist. It's funny about this actual, what's funny about Thunderbird in this 2-pack is he doesn't come, he comes with what you see here. She comes with 2 sets of hands. Oh, here he goes. 2 sets of hands aside from these, the fists and the open hands. So you can do all kinds of posing with her. You don't always have to have her Palpatine hands here on. Although she does look very fierce with them. Okay, and I think that's pretty much everything. It's like I said, Thunderbird is a generic male figure. There's not too much to be gone over. Wasting people's time if you've ever seen a male figure. He's got the same shit they've got. He's got a nice little feather on the back of his headband. And there's also his brother is out in stores now as part of the Deadpool wave, Pirate Deadpool wave, or the Blue Deadpool wave, whatever you want to call that. But he is out in stores as well. And so you can pick them up. These guys are showing up at Targets if you weren't able to get them online. Do some research, see if you can figure out when your store will be getting them, and go and pick it up and see if it had it hiding in the back somewhere or anything like that, and you can get it. And now that I'm looking at this, I do want to make one more note, and maybe I've just never noticed this before, but it looks like they gave Storm a different leg mold. Do you see this? Well, clearly they sculpted in a lot more detail for her suit, and I'm just starting to think maybe they did, I don't know if it's a different body mold or if they just modified a body mold they have, but she has, I don't want to point with my finger, she has points here that you can see in the leg here, this, let's call it thigh meat, right next to her bikini. That, I believe, is new, and looking up here at her torso, she's got this hip mold here, and you see that her 2 hips pop out over, not under, just over her bikini. And then the bit of ribs and things I think is pretty standard. But the hip being specifically over the bikini and not really having too much latex look where the hips would be under the clothes is new. And definitely this thigh meat is new. And it makes it, it's interesting looking at figures like the rabbit, whatever the hell her name is. That little villainess, how she has hot dog legs because they don't have things like this, a little bit of extra detailing that shows this is not a hot dog, this is a leg. And I think there you can see it better when she kind of turns her leg out. It's just that extra tiny little bit of detail that they put in that makes this figure better than a lot of the other ones we've seen. And that's for female figures. That's a whole other tangent for another video about female figures, but I would definitely hold the Storm up to being what all female figures coming from Hasbro should be. I think her, the most recent She-Hulk, and the Gwen and MJ are the 3 female figures that have really set the bar for Hasbro in the past year or so. Well, not even quite a year, past 10 or 11 months, so Hasbro, if you're going to keep making female figures like this, I might get back into collecting a lot more. Thunderbird, you're cool, but let's be honest, you're not the star of this pack. You and your brother are the stars of your own shelf. But Storm is the star of this pack.